I'm thinking about how does it going to affect the jobs? Wasn't there a title up top, 70,000 jobs just in Italy, Kane?
Yeah. So, yep, 70,000 jobs at risk.
Bah,
Right.
yeah. I don't know. Like, you remember my pain of trying to buy a golf cart, and I was like, they're charging 7 to 10 grand for a golf cart. And then you look at, man, there's not a whole lot to this.
Yeah.
um, but, when we talk to clients in the manufacturing world, they're like, oh, it's a different kind of manufacturing process, but it's easier and less components. And, from what they're saying is they can use a hell of a lot more industrial automation to get these things built. So I don't know, how do you save those jobs? Like, the unions can say that, but if you don't need the jobs, you don't need the jobs. Like, what's your opinion?
I don't know. I
I,
always argue, my father-in-law, being 44 years at a, billion-dollar automation company, he always gets upset about automation, even though he's working for a robotics company. Um, he always gets upset when, people lose their jobs on the assembly line. And I always say, well, there are other jobs, of course, that the younger generation can go after that is more tech savvy. But at the end of the day, I mean, you start thinking about how many thousands of people are at some of these assembly plants, and those jobs, logically they're going to go away because the cars are being made with less parts, as you mentioned, James. Faster. I'm hopeful that it's cheaper. Um, and where are those blue collar jobs going to go? I don't know.
They're all going to become YouTube stars, it seems.
Yep.
That's how you're going to have to make your money in the future. But I saw, I was looking at, what the hell? It's like it's an investment in a robotics company, and it's like an angel investment in a startup company in Singapore. They do hospitality based robotics. And I'm watching this thing, like, that was an airport or a city center, but you walk through and everything's like, you can get a vending machine Big Mac, and then there was a bar with no human being. It was just a robot arm, and it'll make you the whole cocktail and even put the little orange slice on it and serve it to you. And I was like, yeah, I need one of these for the house. This would be cool as hell. And lattes. It's got the crema on top, and like, probably better than I get from my local coffee joint from the people that always look so miserable working. And it's like, man, if they're already making lattes and Manhattans, man, we're not far away from them just building electric cars, which is, that's going to kill a hell of a lot of jobs. And everyone's like, well, those jobs can go into automation world. Like, I don't think it's one for one. I'm guessing like for every 5 jobs you kill in a manufacturing plant, you replace with like one person that's going to work on the robotics and program them and do the maintenance and whatnot. And then that's just a guess.
I think it's a good guess, because if it were one for one, you wouldn't be incentivized to do it.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great point. So
on top of it, this article, specifically in Italy, how many thousands of jobs in the US are going to be lost.
yeah, man, it's not just, this is why they bailed them out in 2008. It's people didn't fully understand. They only looked at like Ford or GM, not realizing the tier 2, the tier 3, and all the service companies that provide services to the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and the OEMs. Like, there's so much money tied up into manufacturing automobiles. To watch jobs go down. Now, are we going to watch profit go up? Well, that's a whole other question, right? You look at Tesla's valuation and you're thinking, well, the world's banking on this thing making a hell of a lot of money. So yeah, we're going to lose jobs, but then the company makes more money. Then does that mean more innovation or new products? Like, I don't know.
Right.
Whole other episode idea. But has anyone asked a question right now? I say in Michigan, I'm complete off the top of my head figure. I'm just guessing 35 to 50 cents of every gallon of gas that goes to tax, right? Well, they say, the electricity is so cheap, but does anyone not believe that you're going to end up paying some kind of tax to charge your electric car?
For sure.
Maybe it's already there and I don't know about it because I don't have an electric car yet. But do you think that they're going to start losing that revenue from the gas sales, and they're not going to replace that? And then all of a sudden, you're going to watch the cost of charging an electric vehicle go up, and that's right. We got a little ways to go before I think this whole thing shakes out. People on Instagram, hey, I charged my car for $9. Ha ha ha. It's like, yeah, for now.
Right.
But if we think the government's not going to come get their pound of flesh, it's coming. Another episode idea, though.
Yeah. I'm also curious, like those folks that did buy, a Tesla early on, 2, 3, 4 years ago, how well that Tesla is driving today and what sort of updates it had to do. We don't have a lot of data behind the longevity of an electric vehicle quite yet. You really don't read anything like that in the news specifically. So I'm curious to see like how often somebody would have to change a vehicle once we go fully electric.
It's one of those things that every time you buy a nicer car, like Kane, one day when you get that Porsche, you're going to like look at it and say, I'm going to take the best care in the world of this thing.
Right.
And no matter what you do, within 3 or 4 years, the interior just starts to look like it's 3 or 4 years old. It doesn't matter if it's an electric car or a diesel. I don't care if it's, 2 people are pushing it from behind. In 3 or 4 years, that interior starts to get wore down. And it makes people want to buy another car. That's why that 3-year lease thing's big. After 3 years, you drink coffee in your car. If you got kids, they destroy it. The salt, if you're in the Midwest, and you just want a new car for 3 or 4 years. The sun beats on it. The dash starts to fade. You just want a new car every 3 or 4 years. You look at how expensive the electric cars are. It's like, man, the upper middle class and above, they could do that. But I don't think this is like working class level stuff just yet.
Right.
So.
You got to also think about like years down the road when we do go electric, are they going to try to push, hopefully the price goes down so they can try to push you to, upgrade your electric vehicle every 2-3 years, just like we do cell phones and computers now. Like the lifespan of a battery of a cell phone usually doesn't last beyond 2 years. Is that going to be something similar that the cars are going to happen? Or there's going to be a new feature to the car. You're like, man, I really want that feature. I'm just going to upgrade it.
I mean, that's the world we live in. We always want the next thing.
Yeah.
It's how many people like bought a new TV at Costco last year and they're buying a new one this year? Like, well, this one, my last one was 4K, and then I got the 8K, but now they got 12K, and I'm like,
I really don't know what the 12K means, but I'm gonna get it.
Like I can see the ant on top of the blade of grass, and the whole time, the whole goddamn time, like the TV's on, they're just playing on their cell phone anyways.
Exactly.
So, like, it doesn't even matter. The issue, like I look at, battery technology is going to evolve. It's going to get better, blah, 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 blah. But, there's those stories of at some point you have to replace the battery and it's $20,000. That's where I go back and then people will argue and they're like, well, still with the savings over gas, it's still cheaper to buy the $20,000 battery if you keep it for 5 years. And I get it, but I think about where I grew up, and I was telling Kay a story this morning that when you're completely broke and your family's got no money, bad things always seem to happen at the, there's never a good time, right? I grew up where if you had 3 or 4 grand, you could get a car that could at least get you to work. That's not possible with electric cars. And could you imagine being a working class family and then saying, oh, my electric car broke and it's a $20,000 fix to get the battery? It's like, who the hell's got $20,000 sitting around
right
for a battery? It's like, my whole car costs $3,200. What the hell are you talking about? That's where
now that you say that, it's like, if you think about it, so you're always able to buy that car for $2,000-$3,000. Say 20 years from now, 30 years from now, we somehow manage to get fully electric. How are those used electric vehicles? At what price point will they be in order for those lower income families to buy a used electric vehicle for $2,000 or $3,000? but they have to update the software, or it's not even capable of updating to the new, version. It's like, that is a little concerning to me.
Well, no one's thinking about the middle class and below. It's the people that are in the tech world, the people that are making money, they went to college. They live in this bubble that they don't realize how, let's just say they're the top 20%. They don't understand like where I came from or what it's like to be in that bottom 80% where, even if your car engine blew up, you might be able to go to the junkyard, get something, local shop helps you out. You might be able to get this transmission fixed. What I see on like 2013, 2014 Tesla prices, they're still not cheap, but you have to be able to afford the repair. And I think that's where no one's thinking about that part. Like, let's just say you could get a used Tesla for 20,000. If you're telling me that battery dies and you're going to need 20 grand to fix it, you're screwed. That is not something that the middle class and below can deal with.
Yeah.
So it's so far out of reach for the masses right now. It's fine for, the people in that upper middle class bracket, or if you can afford to just lease it and turn it in every 3 years and it's under warranty. But yeah, who's going to want to buy a 10-year-old Tesla if you're only making $35,000 a year? You're one battery from being bankrupt.
I feel like we could talk about this topic in so many different directions. I was reading an article about the manufacturing jobs currently, in Jay Timmons, I think he's the CEO of the National Association of Manufacturers. He had mentioned how manufacturing job openings went from 500,000 to 850,000. And I wonder, because there's so much competition in other sectors, that even the loss of these type of, assembly line working jobs, is there still going to be plenty of room in the manufacturing sector to just, to take them from one area to another?
I mean, do you want to work in automotive or you want to go work in aerospace?
Right.
Like that's always, there's a private plane boom right now since COVID started. So places like NetJets, they put like an order in for another 100 jets. When I got aerospace booming, I mean, hell, if this war happens over in Ukraine, I'm going to guess that you're going to start getting phone calls from the usual suspects because we're back at war again.
Yeah.
Now we're going to start manufacturing all this other stuff. So there's always a lot of other places to go than like automotive manufacturing. But you said something a minute ago about your iPhone and replacing it. I don't know if you ever seen that thing on Twitter, and every once in a while like trends, or there's always someone that's retweeting it. But it's that line that says, you'll own nothing, but you'll be happy. And what if it just gets to the point where Tesla won't sell you the damn car? Your only option is to lease it. And you're going to turn it back in 3 years.
Right.
There's talks about that with, large agricultural equipment, with cars, with other technologies that people don't want you owning. You can only lease this car, and they'll get it back, and maybe they update the technology or the software, or update the batteries. It's a remanufacture in a sense, maybe. And then they put it back on the market as a certified pre-owned. But we might get to the point where we're not allowed to own anything. It's, back in the day when I was building my first business, you could buy that software called Act, I think, like for the sales management software.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice anymore. Now I can't buy Salesforce one time, install on my computer, and just be happy. I have to pay these people their what do they call that when the mob lends you money? Like VIG. You got to pay the VIG. I got to pay Salesforce the VIG every month forever. I'm never going to be able to just buy the Salesforce software. That SaaS model, right? That is so profitable. They don't want you to own it. They want you to lease it.
Right.
And that's just where we're going to go with even items like electric cars. You're not going to have a choice. You got 3 years, you're going to turn it back in. There's no buyout. It just is what it is.
Yeah. Also, I wonder if, as electric cars become more frequent, is that going to push like public transit to make a a big move for those lower income families to be able to get from A to B. Are we going to see across the country, more trains and railroads or other ways of getting around?
I don't know, Kane. What do you think? You did the high speed rail over in Asia, right?
Yeah. That was one of the things that surprised me that America didn't have, which is pretty wild. The one thing that I was going to say is, you can see a place now to where if we do get to a place where like Dennis said, electric cars get to the kind of disposableness of your cell phone, and people are buying new cars all the time. If at the industry level we don't fix manufacturing's ability to attract talent, then surely the costs will go up, right? Like we're gonna have to make more because people are gonna want more, but we're not gonna have the talent to do it. Then prices will go up probably, and then how does that all work? So without doing the math yet, the puzzle pieces don't really line up to where this looks feasible to me, but I could be wrong.
Right. Yeah, but I also think like over time, you're not going to consider it as the automotive industry. It's going to be part of tech again.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe you start persuading folks, like instead of building a new iPhone, they're going to be building the new vehicle for electric vehicle type of thing, and it's going to be more considered technology than automotive.
That's true. And then if you go back to James's original point around automation, then all those kind of jobs that are perceived as not as attractive get taken over by robots, and then it becomes a lot more attractive. Yeah, great point.
Yeah, it's not going to be a vehicle market no more. I mean, they're selling iPads with wheels.
Yeah.
That's just, Sony's going to get in the game, Samsung, Apple. My problem with Apple is I'm going to get an Apple car, and then the goddamn thing is going to be shut down from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. to do an update. And it's like, I'm trying to get some Taco Bell right now. Oh, I won't have to. A drone's going to drop off my 5 crunchy tacos at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I guess I don't need my car between 2 and 4 anymore. I just feel like if tech doesn't have the best rep overall. It seems like for the people that seem to act like they're so worried about the world, they're all kind of becoming billionaires, and then they're out there doing billionaire things. Right. Like, do you think at some point it's just they're gonna have the power to just say, put your goddamn hands up, and you're gonna pay whatever they tell you to pay because you don't have a choice. You can't buy the car, you can't own the car, and if you want a car, you just got to lease it, and then you're gonna have to pay whatever they say. I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
But it seems like that's where it's gonna go, and at some point, technology is just gonna own our asses across the board, and that doesn't sound fun to me.
Yeah, there'll be a handful of people with both the size of islands.
Man, I think private island sales are probably going up right now.
Yeah.
Get one off the Greece somewhere, right?
They're not that cheap.
Dennis knows I'm broken for sure.
I always just think about like down the road, more of the third world countries, or just like countries that are not as advanced as the US, China, like to go into fully electric. There's going to be such a lag globally for everyone to go electric. It's going to be a difficult, feat to come across, to get through.
We'll be selling we did the cash for clunkers back in the day. We'll just be shipping them all to different countries they'll want to get the gas cars off the road at some point.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're still allowed to own like old cars or classic cars and that type of stuff.
Right.
But in this world, who knows, man? Sometimes it doesn't feel very free anymore. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with the jobs. It's just a transition, right? The problem is maybe everyone doesn't want to be a coder, and that's just kind of where life's going right now. You're either a creative, where you're producing content or movies or music and you're keeping the world entertained, or you got to go to STEM route. And if you don't do those two things, you're kind of screwed. as this kind of chips away at that middle class lifestyle. For someone that just wants to go do an honest day's work, be a productive member of society, those jobs are great. But in some sense, they're fleeting. And that's the unfortunate part.
Yep.
I don't know. We could do a follow-up on this one. This is easily an hour conversation any day.
Yeah.
So, any closing thoughts, Kane?
No, I think the points you guys made were really interesting in terms of like everybody gets excited around EVs and things, but how feasible is it in the short term? I think interesting conversation.
Kane's in Robinhood right now buying shares of electric car companies.
Every automation, yeah.
I thought I heard something in the background. Order confirmed.
Yeah.
All right. I'll catch you guys.
Yep.